infrastructure jobs created by our American Jobs Plan can be filled by people who don't have a college degree. 75% don't need an associate's degree. As I said last week, this is a blue-collar blueprint.
Oh, sorry. Hold on a second here. Let me make sure I'm on the right here. Here we go.
It used to be we invested almost 2.7% of our GDP in infrastructure. Now it's about 0.7%. When we were investing it, we were the leader in the world. I don't know why we don't get this. One of a few major economies in the world.
Just so you know, by the way, what this really is Joe Biden right now is kind of responding to the criticism that he's getting for his infrastructure plan, particularly from the Penn Wharton budget model that came out this morning. That was not very nice to Biden. It kind of slammed his plan as being too expensive, hurting GDP, and potentially costing jobs. So let's see here. Yeah, we've also got now he's going to update a new budget possibly on Friday. Let's keep listening into Biden here. We'll summarize towards the end here. I'll get some more details as well on what this budget update is that just came through.
And how we understand and fight cancer and other diseases. Government, meaning the taxpayers, funded this research. Government. When we stop investing in research, investing in the jobs of the future, and we give up leading the world. When we do invest in research, what we're really doing is raising the bar on what we can imagine. Imagine a world where you and your family can travel coast to coast without a single tank of gas, or in a high-speed train close to as fast as you can go across the country in a plane. Imagine your children growing up to work in innovation, good-paying jobs in fields that haven't even been invented yet, like the parents of every computer programmer, every graphic designer, every renewable energy worker once did, imagined. We invest today so that these jobs will be here in America tomorrow. So America can lead the world as is historically done. That's why I brought back scientists into the White House. We need to think. Look, do we think the rest of the world is waiting around? We're not going to make those kind of investments the rest of the world is saying. Take a look. Do you think China is waiting around to invest in this digital infrastructure or in research and development? I promise you, they are not waiting. But they're counting on American democracy to be too slow, too limited, and too divided to keep pace. You've heard me say it before. I think this generation can be marked by a competition between democracies and autocracies, because the world is changing so rapidly. The autocrats are betting on democracy not being able to generate the kind of unity needed to make decisions to get in that race. We can't afford to prove them right. We have to show the world. And much more importantly, we have to show ourselves that democracy works, that we can come together on the big things. This is the United States of America, for God's sake. Of course, building the infrastructure of tomorrow requires major investments today. As I said last week, I'm open to ideas about how to pay for this plan, with one exception. I will not impose any tax increases on people making less than $400,000 a year. If others have ideas out there on how to pay for this investment without violating that rule, they should come forward. There's all kinds of opportunities. Just list all the tax breaks that I find difficult to explain. Wealthy deductions, $360 billion if you cap them, top rate of 39%, which it used to be for 100. Administration, almost $250 billion, corporate minimum tax, and the fossil fuel way set up how to do it. We're going to raise the corporate tax rate. It was 35% for the longest time, which Barack and I thought was too high during our administration. We all agreed 5 years ago that it should come down somewhat. The administration reduced it all the way down to 21%. What I'm proposing is do we 28%. 28% would still have lower corporate rates than any time between 2017. And will generate over $1 trillion in taxes over 15 years. New Intel last week found that at least 55 of our largest corporations use the various to pay zero federal income tax in 2020. It's just not fair. It's not fair to the rest of the American taxpayers. We're going to try to put an end to this. Not fleece them. 28%. If you're a mom and dad, a cop, firefighter, officer, et cetera, you're paying close to that in your income tax. I've also proposed the global minimum tax, which is being proposed around the world for U.S. corporations at 21%. Let me tell you what that means. It means that companies aren't going to be able to hide their income in places like the Cayman Islands and Bermuda in tax havens. We're going to also eliminate deductions used by corporations for offshoring jobs and shifting assets overseas. They offshore the jobs, shift the assets overseas, and then don't have to pay taxes on all they make there. And we'll significantly ramp up IRS enforcement against corporations. Estimated that would raise tens of billions of dollars. It adds up to more than what I proposed in just 15 years. It's honest, it's fair, it's fiscally responsible, and it pays for what we need and reduces the debt over the long. And by the way, I didn't hear any of our friends who were criticizing this plan say that the corporate tax cut, which added $2 trillion of the debt, the Trump tax cut, $1.9 trillion in debt, wasn't paid for. The vast majority of which went to the top 1% of the wage earners. I didn't hear anybody hollering in this recovery, the so-called before I became president, this K-shaped recovery, where billionaires made $300 billion more during this period. Where's the outrage there? I'm not trying to punish anybody, but damn it. Maybe it's because I come from a middle-class neighborhood. I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced. Let me close by saying this.
See if he does Q&A.
Partisan divisions there are around other issues. There don't have to be around this one. The divisions of the moment shouldn't stop us from doing the right thing for the future. These aren't Republican bridges, Democratic airports, Republican hospitals, or Democratic power grid. Think of the Transcontinental Railroad, interstate highway system, or the space race. We're one nation, united and connected. As I said last week, I'm going to bring Republicans to the White House. I invite them to come. We'll have good faith negotiations. And any Republican who wants to get this done, I invite them. We have to get these things done. We're at an inflection point in American democracy. This is a moment where we prove whether or not democracy can deliver, whether it can lay the foundation for an economy built from the bottom up and the middle out, not trickle-down economics from the very top, whether it can lay a good foundation for good jobs in the 21st century economy. I tell the kids, the young people who work for me, told my kids, when I go on college campuses, they're going to see more change in the next 10 years than we've seen in the last 50 years. We're going to talk about commercial aircraft flying at subsonic speeds, supersonic speeds. Be able to figuratively, if we decided to do it, traverse the world in about an hour, travel 21,000 miles. So much is changing. We have got to lead it. I believe democracy can come through when the American people come together. We saw it in the American Rescue Plan. We're seeing it in the Jobs Plan. The American Rescue Plan, which got so badly criticized, how many of my Republican colleagues you've seen gone on your stations or your newspapers and say, boy, people in my state really like it? Because it would be improper, I haven't asked permission. The number of Republicans and Democrats who were hesitant have called me saying, God, this really works. Overwhelming majority of the American people, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, support infrastructure investments that meets the moment. So I urge the Congress, listen to your constituents, and together we can lay a foundation for an economy that works for everyone and allows America to remain the world leader. When we do that, I believe, as I said last week, that in 50 years from now, when people look back, they'll say, this was the moment together that we won America's future. I really believe that. Thank you all. May God bless you and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Mr. President, are you willing to go lower than the 28% corporate tax rate?
Ooh,
I'm
good
willing
question.
to listen to that. I'm wide open to, but we got to pay for this.
Whoa.
We got to pay. There's many other ways,
Oh,
but I'm willing to negotiate that. I've come forward the
Whoa.
best, most rational way, in my view, the fairest way to pay for it. But there are many other ways as well, and I'm open.
Will you have failed on your promise of bipartisanship if you don't get Republicans on board with this plan? Your first plan passed along party lines.
Look, what I said was I would try to work with my friends on the other side. There are things we're working on together, some of which we passed and some we will pass. But the last plan, I laid out what was available, what I was suggesting, and how I deal with it. And a bipartisan group came to see me. And then the Republican group came to see me. And they started off at $600 billion. And that was it. If they come forward with a plan that did the bulk of it, it was $1.3 billion or $4, 2 or 3, that allowed me to have pieces of all that was in there, I would have been prepared to compromise. But they didn't. They didn't move an inch. Not an inch. But for example, I am dealing with a bipartisan group that came to see me. Now it's about, 3-4 weeks ago when they came about computer chips and they said, look, we have to have our own supply. We have to work together. We're working on that. Chuck Schumer and I think McConnell are about to introduce a bill along those lines. So I'm prepared to work. I really am. But to automatically say that the only thing that's infrastructure is a highway, a bridge, or whatever, that's just not rational. It really isn't. I think the vast majority of Americans think everything from the sewer pipes to the sewer facilities to the water pipes, I think they're infrastructure. Anyway, thank you all so very much.
What are you going to do on guns, Mr. President?
I'll be talking to you about that, I think the day after tomorrow.
Ghost guns?
Can you tell us what you told the King of Jordan, Mr. President? Are you concerned about the situation there?
No, I'm not. Ashcall will tell him that he has a friend in America. Stay strong.
okay. So that's actually going to create a lot of coverage. That simple comment there is a very big comment. So obviously, this, well, I should say presumably, but it's pretty obvious. This press conference was held due to the slamming of Biden plan by Penn Wharton this morning, suggesting that Joe Biden's infrastructure plan would cost jobs, lower the GDP. A pretty solid slam. And they also estimated that Biden's plan would cost closer to $2.7 billion rather than the trillion, $2.7 trillion rather than the $2.2 trillion that the plan sort of headlines. Both not very good things. Joe Biden here, didn't mention too much that was different, other than with the exception of the tax thing. He mostly spent the press conference talking about how important it is that we have infrastructure, that we need to make this investment into our future, that one day we'll have supersonic jets that can travel at 21,000 miles an hour, and we want to be part of that future. We don't want to fall behind, right? Is essentially the message that he was sending during his prepared remarks. But the question that came up regarding, would you be willing to negotiate corporate tax rates in this proposal? And Joe Biden said, yeah, he is. And not only is he willing to negotiate, the exact quote, let's see, let me see the exact quote here. Let's get the exact quote. I mean, we heard it in the video here. But the exact quote was something to I can't find the exact right now. Oh, here it is. No, it is not. I'm going to find the darn thing. So I got a note on this here. Here we go. Are you willing to go lower than your proposed 28% corporate tax rate? That was the question. And the response was, I'm willing to negotiate that, but we have to pay for this. I am open. That's big. That is big. So I'm, that's going to be something that I think is picked up with optimism and enthusiasm by markets, but will also be picked up by a lot of Republicans who try to negotiate with Biden. But I don't know that the negotiation amongst Republicans is going to be so pressing here. I think the more pressing negotiation is actually going to be amongst moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin and maybe Kyrsten Sinema, who might use these models and this commentary about lower corporate taxes as a tool to say, look, I'm only on board if we go with a lower tax rate. In fact, consider recent history. When Joe Biden said, I'm willing to negotiate who's eligible for the $1,400 stimulus checks, guess what happened in the 11th hour negotiations? Joe Manchin goes, yeah, I kind of think I want less people to be eligible for the $1,400 checks. Otherwise, I'm not voting for the plan. Well, they needed his vote. So guess what? He got what he wanted. He got the stricter criteria for those who would receive $1,400 stimulus checks and a quicker phase out for families and individuals. A full phase out of the stimulus checks at $80K for individuals instead of $100K for individuals. At $160,000 instead of $200,000 for couples. That was Joe Manchin pulling leverage literally from what happened a few months earlier when Joe Biden says he's willing to negotiate on the stimulus checks. So this has happened before. This is a pretty big signal, I think, to the market. Now, the market on this, the S&P's had a little bit of a rough day here. Let's pull it up a little bit. I mean, maybe we can attribute a little teeny little bit of a bounce in the S&P 500 here recently to Joe Biden's commentary. We've kind of been, let's go to the, I thought it was on the minute chart. My bad. No, market not really moving on this. Never mind. Sorry, I was on the wrong chart. So now we're on the minute chart here. This is the S&P 500. He just finished talking, five-ish minutes ago, somewhere around here. No, the market has not really, I mean, maybe we could say there was a little bit of a movement here, but that's already gone. So no real market movement from this. Obviously, talk is cheap. Action is what matters. But there's definitely a whole portion of the market that's having some pain today. EVs selling off 4 to 5%. Redfin, Ubiquity, look at this, Tesla down 2.25%. Definitely some pain in the market today. So not too much green, with the exception of U-Time, which, I mean, a little bit of an outlier here since it was just listed. But anyway, If we just do that, there we go. We've got some things that are up a little bit here, Avuzi, Apple, but Apple's only up 1%. MP Materials, I'll be talking to the CEO of MP Materials at 2 p.m. So look forward to having you there. Make sure to come for that. Make sure to also get your 2 free stocks with Webull, of course, because why not? And I'll also redirect to the unlisted after this live stream. When I hit end, I'll redirect you to the unlisted version of the MP Materials live stream, so you can hit remind on that. I'll probably make that public, so you can sign up for that reminder soonish. But anywho, that's a big shift from Joe Biden. We'll see how everyone sort of reacts to this. But so far, it looks like things that were doing well today have sold off. Canoe sold off. XL Fleet sold off. So this is XL Fleet was up 20% at one point in the day here. Canoe was up 13% at one point today. They're 2% and 6% here. Peloton just went negative. They were positive. Tesla 2.3 now. Market's kind of falling a little bit into the close. In fact, Voyager Digital, look at that selling pressure on Voyager Digital. This will be, by the way, a big opportunity in my opinion coming up against the Coinbase IPO. Some other updates that are coming in. Let's see here. Okay, so Euro-dollar futures fully pricing in Fed rate hike by March 2023 after Fed minutes. Okay. Fully pricing in first Fed rate hike by 2023. March of 2023. I could see that. In 2023 is kind of when we're expecting rates to bump up anyway. Kind of insulated here in 2021, thinking maybe a bond tapering starting in 2022. Biden will be talking about his plan for gun control on Friday. Biden says he thinks Schumer and McConnell are about to introduce a bill on the chip shortage. The 28% tax rate potentially being negotiated lower. Big deal. That's probably the biggest thing that just came away from this, the breaking news here. But not much beyond that. So, all right, folks, thank you so very much for being here. When I hit the end stream here, go ahead and hit remind on that MP Materials interview. That'll be fun. Thanks for